Okay, here we go. So, starting with character introductions. So, these first two, I have to guess who came first because these were before I joined the campaign. We do have our dungeon master. You'll hear his name later, but there's no picture to represent him other than some basic stuff. So, here we're starting with the gem dragonborn Dracorath. He is a paladin, mostly. He actually started out as ranger, but due to circumstances, he had to give his service, swear himself into the service of Tiamat, an evil dragon goddess, in order to save the rest of his party from their own idiocy, basically. They put themselves in a situation where they were gonna die. I think there was like an army or something. But yeah. Dracorath is greedy, but and also a bit of a chaotic dude. But he he's a good person, deep down. Next up is the variant human fighter Zorbroth. This is one of the filler images. There's no proper art for Zorbroth. Zorbroth, his player is one of the younger ones, so uh, what was there to Zorbroth? So yeah, he's our human fighter, Eldritch Knight, which reminds me, I forgot to say Drake's subclasses. Let me go back to him real quick. Drake's subclasses for Ranger is Drake Warden, no surprise, so he can summon a small dragon, small by dragon standards anyway. And for Paladin, he's Oath of Conquest, and he has a crazy sword. Anyway, Zorbroth is Eldritch Knight. Unfortunately, his players doesn't often remember that he has spells. He currently has a halberd, I believe, and a talking sword named Swordion, which will be funny when you get to it. The only thing I know off the top of my head is that a green dragon murdered his family and he wants revenge on that. And also, he might get possessed if he goes mad, which, means rolling on a custom madness table that I've never seen but exists for Zorbroth between him and the DM. Next is my character, Byron, the dwarf cleric. You can see he has a sword. He actually has a magic item sword, a sunblade, a very specific one that I'll explain later. So that's why that's there. I wanted to make it look more glowy in Hero Forge. Speaking of, I made both of these Hero Forge models that we're seeing. Anyway, so he just kind of got caught up, appeared in a dungeon that they were that the party was in. Him and another character who was being played by somebody. That character was supposed to be his colleague, but a few sessions later, the player had to leave due to life circumstances, so he got killed off. There's more to that, but I don't want to explain it. Byron is lawful good. He worships Bahamut. That was very intentional, learning that there was a Tiamat paladin while trying to join the game. And I was like, okay, I'll be, Tiamat's brother, her sworn enemy Bahamut. Lawful good platinum dragon god. He is life domain cleric, no multi-class, just life domain cleric. So the designated healer. We're running with a house rule because of how bad the party kept getting beaten beforehand, that all healing is done at just straight up maximum roll. So I do insane amounts of healing. He's also kind of the focused one of the group, so he's kind of unintentionally become the leader because nobody else was making decisions. Anyway, moving on to Braxian. Sorry, not Braxian. Elias. Braxian's the next one. Elias, a drow wizard we found in a castle, a very specific castle. I actually am aware that this was a written NPC of the adventure who was taken over by a player so that we could fill out the dwindling numbers. We were down to 3 players, which, we're consistent players. We don't leave, but we wanted more. So what we know is he wants to kill the big bad of the adventure where we're in, and he can be kind of a dick. He's also definitely a misogynist or something. Next up is, as said, Braxian, the half-elf wizard who's probably not going to stay in the campaign long. It's been like 6 or more sessions since he joined, and his players only been able to be here for the first session. He somehow got into the lands we're in during a one-on-one session, found us in another castle. Actually, the first one where we found Elias wasn't a castle, but I'll explain later. The only thing we know about him is that he's searching for his brother, and somehow that has brought him to where we are. Now, the next 2 I'm going to introduce are actually new players. This is going to be their first session in the campaign. We did some test sessions with them. Well, the DM did. We did 1 test session with one of them. The other person, the DM, did a session 0 one-on-one. So I'm going to introduce them in the order in which they joined the server, the Discord server we use. So first, I just need to actually... Okay, what was the name here? Sorry. This one is a bit different. Xylarith. He is also a drow, but he's a paladin. Oath of the Crown. And since he hasn't introduced yet, I don't know anything about him other than that. And as for the last one to be introduced, it's going to be Ignis, a plasmoid monk. Yes, this is not a class, a race you often see played. This is an obscure race, rules-wise anyway. But yeah, that's them. I do know mechanically about this character. They have they're not just a monk. That is actually my first mistake. This is a triple multi-classed character. We're all about level 9. So he is first a bard and a cleric and a monk. Bard, he's College of Eloquence. For cleric, he's a subclass from the Grim Hollow book. I don't remember what it's called. No, wait. Sorry. It was the Purification Domain, which basically lets him burn everything, even if it's immune to fire, which is really cheap, because the Grim Hollow content is really cheap. His player was in the playtest session I was in, which was still canon, but it was elsewhere. Anyway, he's a bit of a min-maxer. Now, to introduce the story, finally. So when I first joined in, and I will back up to Byron here, since this is talking about my experience, I can't speak for the rest of the party from their perspectives. When I first joined in, I had about 3 sessions with them. 1 or 2 that I missed, before the DM guided us into the Curse of Strahd adventure. Bam, Strahd. So we are in Barovia. We have been in Barovia. Today will be our 23rd session in Barovia, so half a year, like I said earlier. I am the note taker in the end, and I need to. I think we've been through half the content now, but we kind of messed up a lot, and the town of Barovia has been attacked by Strahd, as well as the town of Vallaki, because the way events played out, we missed, the intended path of the plot. We skipped a plot point and went straight to having dinner with Strahd at his castle, where he asks us to find his wife. Well, his bride. He has 3 wives already, but only one, the fourth one, which he actually wants, which he actually loves. And we're not helping him at all. We told him we were. Then we changed our minds one session later. Honestly, we weren't even set on it right away. Ever since then, well, we've been through a lot of stuff and it'd be a lot to get through. And the session starts in just about 30 minutes from now, 27 to be more precise. And that's not really enough time to go over it all. So, shorthand, the big stuff, we went to a monastery, a mansion, which is actually where we found Elias, inhabited by an order of Knights of Silver Dragon worship, or founded by a dragon known as Argynvost. We were given a quest to retrieve the heart of their dead leader. The whole order is dead. One guy was a coherent undead, though. The rest were either passive undead or revenants that wanted to murder us, and that was most of them, the revenants. Godwin, the one who could talk to us, asked us to get the heart of Argynvost from Strahd's castle, which was a very risky thing. We were like level 7, level 8 at the time. Not exactly the recommended level for being in Strahd's castle, but we managed with some locate object spells to give us guidance so we could find the quickest way in and out. And we got some items. Now, I mentioned earlier, Byron has a special sword here. It's actually a specific variant of the Sunblade known as the Sun Sword, which is part of the story of Strahd's history. It belonged to his brother. The sword is sentient and has the purpose of killing Strahd. Currently, the party is in a camp. We have been given our next 2 general destinations. A lot of things were motivated by a loss of connection to our gods because we're in the domain of Barovia, which is so far under Strahd's control that he can kind of muddy the connection to the gods. We've been repairing that, and now that we have it prepared, there's just a little more. Drake, our paladin, back here. Drake here was losing some of his powers. I was doing fine, probably because the DM just really wanted to mess with this player and it was worth it. And he has most of them back. We just need to complete one more objective, which has been how the DM has been plot hooking us through the events of Strahd. There were 2 other player characters a while ago, but they were killed off when the player stopped playing. That was during the attack on Vallaki, which the rest of us were not there for. One of them was turned into Strahd's thrall, one of his vampire thralls, and had been tracking us. They were rogues, so they were tracking us for a while. But literally last session, we slew the undead rogue. He kind of exploded. I don't know why. His blood, or whatever was in him, was flammable. Very flammable. So he exploded. And as for the other player character who died, who possibly has been turned into a vampire creature that the dungeon master can throw at us, was a barbarian, which is scary. Barbarians are notably difficult to kill. So we have no idea where he is, if he's even been turned, which is almost a guarantee, really. And how screwed we are when he shows up. But now that there's about 7 of us, and only about 6 of us that I trust to actually be present, I think our odds are good, but things are going to be rescaled by the Dungeon Master to compensate. So that's the basics. Alright. So in about 23 minutes, maybe a little earlier, I'm going to start streaming. It'll No guarantee we'll actually start playing right away. We usually don't. But I hope to see you there. I do have everyone's permission to stream this. I made sure that it was a unanimous thing, or I wouldn't have done this. So I hope you enjoy.